So yeah, next one then
is Another Round.
Another Round,
Mm-hmm.
starring Mads Mikkelsen and other
Danish
actors. We're sorry. Like, if we spend time going through every director and every actor and all these things, like we're going to lose so much time. But you can do the work. But what was the director again?
I will get him up
now. The guy who did
The Hunt.
The Hunt.
Yeah.
The Hunt. Oh.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Hunt?
I've not seen The Hunt.
Dude, that's a film, man.
Thomas Vinterberg.
Yes.
Vinterberg, yeah. Or
Yeah.
Winterberg, yeah.
That's a goddamn film, The Hunt. We won't get into that now. Like we'll both watch that. It's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, Another Round.
Another Round. That was interesting. So we saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit buzzed before. Got a little bit buzzed afterwards, and we were like, we're missing the whole point of this film. Power drinking.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, we got quite drunk after the film. But it wasn't about alcoholism.
Oh, it's terrible.
Was it?
Yeah, no. It's all about alcoholism. Like, yeah, knocking about whiskey. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
a great film.
Yeah, do you remember when we were in the cinema and I was getting a drink? Literally at the beginning, before we even saw it, was like, yeah, the film about alcoholism, I'm clearly missing the point. And the woman was just like, dead-eyed me. Didn't give a fuck. I was probably the 18th guy that had made that joke that
She
night.
just taps to the side like, please don't make jokes about alcoholism. And,
Yeah.
and the last round, I'm not paid enough to give enough shit
Also,
about
just don't
this.
make jokes about alcoholism, you know,
In general.
Yeah, in general, in a cinema in London, we have enough. But, great film. Great film.
Incredible film. Incredible film. The more,
It's been said before, but best representation of being drunk on screen.
absolutely the best drunk acting ever.
Yeah.
They're drunk. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it now. They're drunk.
But that's the thing. I've seen an interview where
They're
it's like,
not.
so did you guys get drunk? And they're like, well, we considered it. And the director says, with Mads. But the director's like, yeah, well, we considered it, but honestly, we decided in the end, like, it probably wasn't worth the risk. He's like, no, you're drunk.
And then Mads looked at the camera like,
yeah, it's literally that thing.
really?
They're both, like, denying it.
you're lying to producers, aren't you?
We both know they're denying it, but we all know it's like, no, you're genuinely drunk.
No, it is. It's like some of the best drunk acting I've ever seen.
So good.
I mean, just to give a very brief summary of it.
Yeah, sorry, we should probably start.
It's about a bunch of gentlemen, middle-aged, they're sort of going into their sort of mid-50s, and the film starts with them having dinner, like a bit of a reunion after a long time. They've all gone to school together, they're all good, like, school friends.
Yeah.
And they're all quite wild back in school, all quite artistic, and they're having a dinner, and they're all kind of going over what they do, and it kind of becomes apparent, you know, they've all become fathers, they've all become family men, they've all settled for very, I wouldn't say... I'd say steady jobs. They've gone for very, very secure jobs, and they've all settled into their family lives.
Yeah, they've compromised, which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not. But that's what they
kind
are.
of what the film gets into. Yeah.
And the thing is that while they're kind of the rest of the friends are kind of chatting away, and they're kind of all at peace of it, and they're all having a bit of like wine and a bit of beer, and it becomes apparent like, by the end of this dinner, they're all quite pissed. By the end of this dinner, they've all had like a big lobster dinner, steak, and they've all got a little bit drunk, and they're all joking about the good old times. But Mads Mikkelsen's character, he just bursts into tears.
He has like the gentlest breakdown I've ever seen.
Ever.
Just gently cries.
Yeah.
But again, just for anyone who cares, like, I'm just going to let my bias know now. I call him Daddy Maddie.
Daddy Maddie.
He's one of my two. Him and Brad Pitt is like, just...
oh my.
I just find them stunning to watch.
Yeah,
like,
they are.
You know, I know people have mixed opinions on Brad Pitt, of course. I think he's underrated.
I could watch
I don't
Mads
think he's the best
Mikkelsen.
actor ever, but Mads Mikkelsen, I could watch...
Make soup.
Yeah, I could watch him like make a coffee with a cafetiere. I could watch the cafetiere like break slightly and he'd just go like... and like try and fix it.
So now I'm stirring in the cream, and
No. For me, he wouldn't even need to narrate. He'd
No.
just make it in silence for 20 minutes. I could watch Mads Mikkelsen make coffee for like 20 minutes.
Or just every now and then he'd be like, bit of water,
Yeah, exactly.
bit of butter.
So I'll admit my bias with that, but like,
Yeah.
I find Mads Mikkelsen, you know, since Hannibal and many other things, but I adore Mads Mikkelsen. I think that man eats up charisma.
Yeah,
like a black hole eats light.
he's the greatest thing in Death Stranding, and if you can take that pile of absolute whimsical madness and bring solid acting scenes to it.
Tom, don't be so serious.
Don't be.
I mean, we'll get into another. You'll see, but anyone who knows, you'll know what we're talking about.
So Mads has this kind of. He has this very, very gentle breakdown where he just basically says like, yeah, and I think I'm not okay with getting older, and I think I might have left a lot of things undone, and I think I'm not going to be happy anymore, and I think I'm very stuck. And it's
so lovely watching men open up to each other in that way. And again, it's not like even made a big deal.
No, he starts off very calm, and by the end of it, he's only crying a little, but you feel the pain.
And they're
in his
absolutely
voice.
on board immediately. Again, the film is not advertising things like, oh, men don't talk enough. It's like, it's not going for that. It's like, no, these guys are just like, that's a given. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Do you know what I mean? It's just they are there to emotionally support each other as well as encourage each other in bad ways.
Yeah.
But it's such a wonderful, refreshing difference that isn't advertised. That has no interest in making some kind of statement about that. It's much more about them as people. You know?
So after he has this sort of breakdown, basically the guy, it was his birthday. I think it's like his 55th birthday. He's like,
birthday,
he's like,
and
you know what?
And he's not allowed to drink, and then he has that. Well, he says he's like, no, I won't drink a word tomorrow. But then they convince him to have that vodka,
and
that look on his face when he has vodka, which again I'm like, oh, Daddy Maddie. If I could taste what you tasted right now, it's the most satisfying drink anyone's ever had.
And they get absolutely smashed.
Yep.
And he turns up very hungover, but the next day he's kind of like, okay, I felt good, I felt alive again.
Yeah. And
he starts chatting because he actually works with there's only one other person he's in contact with, and that's the guy who works at the school.
And that's
the PE teacher.
Is it because it's the other guy? The dad with the beautiful blonde wife. I mean, they're all beautiful. The Danish, so that's a given. Everyone in that film.
Everyone's beautiful. Everyone.
You know, the ugliest man. Oh, that's Horace, the town bum. It's like he's fucking stunning.
He's
just like a model.
He's so stoic.
There's like that famous internet meme of like that Japanese homeless man. You see him? It's like the most gorgeous homeless man you've ever seen. He looks like a model. But like with his wife, he's the one that brings up the concept.
Yeah.
Which, sorry.
He brings up the concept that there's this philosopher psychiatrist basically who proposed that you should keep your blood alcohol level at about 2%. So how they describe it is the feeling you get after a big glass of wine. Yeah. Just slightly buzzed. Yeah. Just an
extenuation. Not like changing
drunk.
Just slightly you're just accentuating what you are.
But you have to keep it. The thing is, you have to keep it at that level. So you can't just have a glass of wine in the morning and go for your day. You have to have a glass at morning and then a glass at lunch to keep yourself.
Yeah, you've got to
sustain it, and you've got to keep your blood alcohol. And they do it for a bit, and they decide they're going to keep a record of it.
Yeah, and it works. It fucking
works.
They all have better classes. Mikkelsen, he
reinvents himself.
He's like a history teacher. Yeah, and he comes back in with like a new.
His class are failing, and he comes in and he's like,
them up.
It's like we're going to take the class outside. Yeah. Whoa, Mr. Mikkelsen, you're crazy.
We're gonna go. You know, he's the kind of teacher that like sits down on the desk and he's like, you know what? Sometimes it's about teaching kids, but sometimes it's about kids teaching me.
No, Mr. Mikkelsen, no, you can't say that. No, I can.
No, I can't.
Now, is that the test book? It is.
Yeah, it's fucking test. It's literally.
We're not needing these anymore, kids.
Yeah, it's like what is it? Dead Poets Society without the 90s over sincerity cheese on top of it. But like all of them.
Yeah, everyone has positive.
All four of them have very positive
because
effects.
Again, they're not trashed. They're just buzzed, and they're all they're just going to work invigorated. They're having more sex with their wives, which I think is a really big part of it. Like their sexual chemistry with their wives improves massively. So they get a bit more flamboyant, and they're kind of like spring in their step. Way more intimate with people. Yeah.
Basically, they've all become more emotionally available. Yeah. They become more at peace with giving their emotions to each other. Because don't forget, Daddy Maddie. I'm going to keep saying that, but Daddy Maddie's like expulsion of like sincerity for the first time, like genuine vulnerability. It's all boosted by alcohol.
Having that vodka,
alcohol keeps becoming this thing of like
be able to express yourself and to say what's actually on your mind.
Essentially, a crutch.
Yeah.
You know. but it becomes this alleviator that helps them express themselves and connect properly with each other honestly, which it's a good thing at first.
Until they start going, okay, well, why don't we bump it up to 3%?
And that's Mads who actually is the one that proposed it. He's actually, which I thought was very interesting, but because I didn't expect him to be the one, weirdly.
But he's
the one that's like, I want to take this further.
He's the inebriator,
The rest of them are just like, okay, like we've had our fun. It's time to wind it down.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I kind of want to take this further.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what it's like on 0.5 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then take it up a step.
And
of course, like, anyone with a brain is going to know where this goes.
Yeah, it spirals out of control.
Yeah.
To the point where one of them is, there's a point where, like, to become that drunk that much, so that at the point they're now tipsy all the time, and to do that you need vodka, and they're having vodka and water, and they actually have to like hide it in the school, and it's getting to the point where like, people are finding vodka.
PE teacher gets caught out.
Yeah, and it's getting like very serious, and people are smelling it on their breath, and they're going like, okay, like what's going on here? And then, but what's also important is that they're not just doing this; they're finishing work, and on the weekends they're getting pissed.
Yeah,
they're topping off a good week.
Yeah.
So they've had a really good week by being buzzed, and then they're topping off by getting fucking smashed. And they do get fucking smashed. But then that's the thing, they wake up Monday morning, they wake up hungover, and it's like, right, back to the booze. Back to the
cycle.
Back to the booze. And it does become a slog. And what's very tragic in the end is that where alcohol, it makes you a better person, and it brings out the kind of, like you said, it makes you more emotional. So you become a better talker. You become a better listener.
It extenuates you. It doesn't mean you're necessarily better or worse, but like it helps you extenuate yourself.
But over time, the double-edged sword is that it brings out very dark parts of you.
Yeah.
It brings out the things that you were trying to hide that now start bubbling to the surface. Emotive.
Open and honestly, and quite much more emotionally honest, which isn't necessarily the right thing all the time.
No, sometimes you need to process your pain properly, and the best way to do it is to kind of like, on a sober mind, materialise it and come to terms with it. But these guys have constantly got everything at the surface.
Yeah.
So the very dark stuff comes out, and the real tipping point is where one of their friends commits suicide.
Yeah.
In the group. Mm-hmm. It just comes to the point where like he was, and that's the thing, and he never said about it. But while they're all getting drunk,
he's the PE teacher, gets caught out.
Yeah.
Loses his job. He just strides down to his boat, trashed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
See, the thing with that guy encounters him, and I actually went to the toilet at this point. That's when I went out, but like it was that thing. I was like, this is the point I can go pee, because I was like, I know exactly how this is going down, and it did. Like I missed the details, but it's like even the guy who was like, "You're right." It's like what's going to happen.
He's going to
but it happened because I don't know. There's no judgment on that other guy either. Like.
There was a very great line in it from the wife. So like after they've had this like camping trip away, because again like Mads is like so on form. They go camping and they have like incredible sex in their tent, and it's just like incredible. But like again, like the next day he gets pissed and he comes back and he fucking stumbles through the door and bashes his head, and the son has to come down. Has to look after him.
So when the kids get involved, that's when it gets really
heavy.
And
she says, the problem with this country, and I think this is a very Danish thing, but also we're from the UK, and the Danish actually say this. They say that the British are crazy Danish people. We're exactly the same. Like we have the same mentality, we have the same humour. We both live in very dark, very wet countries. We're just a little bit more crazy.
Yeah, we're not as sexy.
But the thing is, what she said, it was like the problem. She was like, the problem with this country is like everyone drinks.
Yeah.
They drink. Like things get tough, things get hard, and people drink. And that's like one of the biggest like real cold realization. There's moments where like they're dancing and they're having a great time. But the thing is, like you said at the beginning, it was like it's a crutch. The only way they've become this is because of this drug. And it's tragic. In the end, it becomes really fucking tragic to watch these guys. That these guys are like, remember, they're doing like 5-point weeks and then topping it off with bender, and they can't even get up. Like they're barely getting up in the morning.
Yeah, when the guy like pisses the bed.
Yeah.
The wife kids coming and he can bear, and he just can't get it together.
And
which, to be fair, is the point where he's like, okay, I'm done. But
and like
it's pathetic and it's tragic at the same time. You know, you can't hate the guy.
And like, just as from a personal point of view, like, I've seen that. I've seen people deal with their struggles with alcohol, like, who just drink and.
Well, it's the easiest drug to get hold of.
Everyone booze. It's so easy.
Everyone has their thing.
It's so easy, but the thing, like, I've seen people, like, piss themselves, and they, they're a bit fucking tipsy at lunchtime, and it's like, and it does get to the point where it's like, I think to quote Jordan Peterson on it, it's like, it's just such a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug, goddamn.
Alcohol.
Like, alcohol, it like makes you better talking, but it's like, it's a hell of a drug, and you need to find something better than that.
It's like, it's an enhanced version of you.
Yeah, and you need
that's an artificial enhancement. That's not sustainable.
And the thing is, if you can't have anything better than that, like, if you can't find something in your sober life that is better than being drunk, then you have a very big problem.
Yeah.
Because, and again, to quote Jordan Peterson, he was like, you need adventure, you need life. Life is what gives you, it gives you reasons not to drink. You find people in your life, you find your family, people that you love who are saying, I don't like you this way, like, you're not you. They're the reasons that you stop doing it. For people who don't really, like, who all they have is that drug, if you don't have anything better than getting drunk, we've all been drunk. We all know how fucking great it is. If you can't feel as happy as you are when you're drunk, then that's when you have a very, very bad problem.
Yeah.
And that's what it is for a lot of them. I
think that's what they reflected with... Sorry.
No.
I think that's what they reflected with the PE teacher in particular. It's like, the thing is, for him, he didn't have anything to make him feel better.
No.
The others had other things in their life to build it.
Yeah, like Mads had his wife, and even though they're distant, you know how much he loves her.
Yeah.
Because, like, that moment in the tent, you realise, like, my God, he loves his kids.
Yeah.
He does.
When she reveals she's had,
yeah.
Things have happened. Well, it's basically anyone who put two and two together. But when she reveals she had the affair, because he was so distant, and that's the thing. It's like, not even to blame her. It's like, these things don't happen in a vacuum.
No, exactly. He was so distant.
He has an absolute meltdown. He just cannot. He can't handle it. This isn't out of pride. Like, he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
But it's also not a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like his fault. He knows it. He's just like,
That's the thing. I wouldn't say it's his fault.
No, but
he doesn't have it in a vacuum.
No, exactly. Not having the vacuum.
Yeah, it's not her. It's not. She's not to blame. They both are.
It's
really fucking sad.
Their dynamic failed. Yeah.
And he has this line. I can't remember. It's like, how can you expect me not to, like, behave like this after what you've done, kind of thing. And it's like, well,
it
doesn't happen in a vacuum, buddy. And the same with, like, the other gentleman and his family, or the music teacher, and his relationship to the kids. But it's the PE teacher who doesn't have anything going on outwardly, which is sad. Like, he encourages the other school children and stuff, but beyond that, like,
well, that's the thing though. He only found that pip again when he was the guy who was wasted. Remember, because everyone's on like 3%.
And he got it robbed from it, and he got that taken away from him. Not just that he was wasted, but like his connection with those kids by losing his job. It was taken away from him.
Yeah, he didn't get to quit on his own terms.
He wasn't able to self-sustain in and of himself.
Yeah, he got it snatched.
Himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, like, everyone else got to go like, oh shit, we're done.
Yeah.
But he actually got it stolen away from him, and he was
Mads comes over to his house, and it's a mess, and he's like to Mads, where he's like, you don't want this. Like, I'm a single man in his 50s, like, this place is a mess. Mads, like, he gets drunk, passes out, and Mads, like, cleans up the place.
Yeah.
And wakes up and he's like, don't be me. You don't want to be this.
Yeah.
It's that way for Mads where he's like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, dear.
But, it slaps really hard. And then at the end, obviously the students graduate. It kind of it follows almost, the chronology is almost like the school year. Their process over this school year.
Yeah.
And the students graduate and having a glorious time on one of those rare sunny days in Denmark.
Sky's blue.
All 6 of them. And he's there, and they've broken off, and obviously he's broken up with his wife, but they meet again in a little alley, almost like whispering teenagers.
Yeah, and they have, like, a little
children, and she's like, oh, well, I do miss you. And he's like, he's like, I miss you. And she's like, yeah, I do miss you too. Like, and there's almost like that spark again. They
yeah.
found between themselves just as people in a moment without any context around them. Yeah. And he goes and sits down on the bench and he has another drink. But it's not him falling into the drink as a crutch anymore.
Yeah.
He's living joy in the moment, and he's having a drink because it's right in that moment with all the people around him. And he goes into this modern dance thing, which apparently
which was
modern dance
which was built up from the fucking start.
Yeah, they like put it in 3 times because he took like, what was it, alternative jazz ballet lessons. And apparently he rehearsed that for like 2 weeks, and it's wonderful.
It's fucking. I see every fucking day of that on screen.
Now, obviously, for anyone who cares, we've like slightly taken away from like the moment it actually slaps. If you hear this before you see it, but when you see it, it's something else.
And you can't
it's such an exaltation.
I will say as well, like you can watch that clip on YouTube. But if you watch the whole film and you get that at the end, it's like
we were in chills. The good, the bad, and the ugly, but not watching all the film, just watching the shootout, the Mexican standoff at the end. Mm-hmm. You're entirely missing everything behind it. But yeah, it was such a wonderful ending, such an exaltation of life. You know,
it's like Mads Mikkelsen's character. Like now, it's not a crutch. Now I can just do this as something to just, be with my family and have a good time with and stuff, which is what it's supposed to be for. Yeah. It's supposed to be alcohol is supposed to be a bit of a celebrational thing.
Yeah, it's an extenuation, not a crutch. It's supposed to make you
lift up the good times.
Be more of you in the right context rather than like make you someone else.
Exactly. It accelerates the good times. Yeah. And it's the cap off a good feeling.
And it's a double-edged sword because of course, like you see that with like those kind of drugs or it is a drug, but those kind of things where it's like those people fall into that trap of being like, well, I always want to be the best version of me. It's like, those two are not mutually exclusive.
And I guess that's the problem with celebrities is that the good times keep rolling. So you want to keep celebrating. Yeah. Most actors, most models, they start from very humble beginnings and then they get breaks and then they get a bit, and then they're like, the rock stars, they're, the good times, like we should just keep celebrating. Yeah. We've worked hard. But then before you know it, it's like you can't play without a drink. Yeah. You can't perform without a drink because you, like you say, you're terrified. Like I'm not my best self when I haven't had a drink, and it's
like you lost sight of what got you there in the first place.
Exactly.
It's So another round.
Yeah.
Great film. Really
wonderful film. Any criticisms, Sean?
Again, a little bit long.
It's always our criticism.
I know.
It's a little bit long.
You could shave it off. 10 minutes. 15.
That's like the common curse of every film. I feel at this point. It's
I
feel like
when too long for most of them for what they have to say.
And I think that's just a sign of like, same when we were talking about Minari. It's like when you have like a director who writes the script as well, was very heavily involved with the script process. You do get a little bit protective. You don't want to shave off stuff, but it's like, you could. As an audience point of view, I know you love this shit, and I know this is your baby, but
strangers have to watch this.
Yeah, you could shave
strangers who have no investment in you. I think the messaging gets a little bit muddled at the end. I will admit, like I think what we're talking about is the messaging, but I think we've had to work a little bit for it. I think it gets a little bit lost at the end because it starts to become more about. They start to kind of lose focus from them and they start worrying about the children suddenly quite in a turn of tact. Now I know this context comes to the fact the director's child
as a family
died.
Oh, okay.
So the film changed.
I see.
About halfway through, their child died.
Right. Okay.
And
well,
so
then
the
that's
film
a big
context changed. Yes. So I'm not going to get into that kind of personal influence. Excuse me, but it's that kind of thing of like. I'm just trying to look at this objectively. Yeah,
you notice it happening.
Yeah, I think if you know that context going in, you'll be able to tell, which you will know if you haven't seen it, of course, and then you go see it. But it refocuses more about the children slightly too much on like literally the last fifth of it or so. Yep. Kind of comes in a bit too late to be the hero there. It's not bad,
but it could have been prevalent throughout the entire film.
Yes, it's like I think they could have reworked that earlier, but I also appreciate the real world consequences and what happened during the time, so that wasn't an option. Yeah. But if I'm trying to look at it objectively and to be honest, coldly as a piece of art, it's like that's kind of a problem with it. Yeah. that theme that they bring out near the end, which is what actually really nicely ties in Extenuates.
Yeah, it is.
It's that build upon, but it's like you needed to go into and establish this earlier. It's too late.
The high school students at the end is a nice reminder of why he was doing it, because they're from the beginning.
Yeah.
And and he remembers why he was doing his job, like the joy of teaching, the joy of giving back to young people,
the joy of the future.
Yeah,
and all of them are teachers.
Yes, yeah,
all of them. Mm-hmm. You know, they're all building towards a future, so it's like it's there.
Yeah,
the structure is already there. It just wasn't fully
with his family, but it wasn't like his prevalent. No, as in like the theme of like saving the children for his family wasn't there from the beginning.
Yeah, for all of them, it's like you needed to re-establish this movie in the beginning of Act 2, but like you're kind of coming into this in like what the 4/5 of the way through the film. You're a little bit late to this to start tying this back in with the characters. You focused quite exclusively on the characters' midlife crisis, which is good, but the two could have paralleled much more strongly. Yeah. I think they parallel nicely, but like I would say that's the weakness there. Is like in terms of structure, it's like. You could have had this wonderful parallel of midlife crisis and losing yourself and rediscovering it to people who don't know who they are and are discovering themselves as they grow up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have tied it in... It's not that they don't tie in, because they do, but they could have tied that in more strongly.
A bit more tighter. Yeah.
That would be the thing I would say. But
I'd say as well... I'd also... say this with Minari as well. I mean, Minari a bit more than Another Round, but if you're looking for something very cinematic with like lots of incredible cinematography, they're both very fine. Yeah, they're just these are just very they're just by the books.
Yeah,
and they're both beautifully shot. Minari a bit more so. Minari has a bit more framing wise of like, but Another Round, like it's the story, and if you're a cinema goer who prefers more kind of like avant-garde kind of like visuals, this is just a very beautifully shot film, it's more about the story of anything.
Yeah, if you're a real cinephile, one of your biggest criticisms of both these films would be like neither of them really use the language of cinema, which is like okay, fair, but then that's ending up like me with Perfect Blue, where it's like. Oh, but why is this a film though? It's like sometimes it doesn't have to justify itself in and of itself.
Yeah, because they're filmmakers and that's their medium.
It doesn't have to exist as a film because it only works as a film.
Minari has some nice framing in it, especially it has a lot of like empty space. Has a lot of like empty space and negative framing and stuff like that. But this is more just kind of like.
It's in terms of presentation in cinema and film language, he is stronger, definitively. It's quite a difference. It's not huge, but it's like Minari's like clearly a bit stronger in that regard.
Yeah,
but this is a solid, very evocative story in its own right as well, and a very different thing. Like one's very family oriented, the other's very individual, insular.
Yes, it's a man in a family who wants to explore his individuality
along with these other characters. But the other criticism being the music teacher kind of gets shafted a bit. He doesn't really get developed enough at all. Mads does. The PE teacher who dies, gets trashed and dies, does, but not quite enough. His friend, the other teacher gets developed quite well, but like the piano teacher does not get
piano teacher time,
which is weird.
I thought you said the PE teacher. No, the piano teacher. He does get a little bit sidetracked.
I'm criticising for time, but again, it's like, well, you don't need more time to use it correctly.
But I could have needed a little bit more with him and what his angle was. Yeah, because everyone else does.
Could have given and chosen a bit more. I find it interesting. Like he was the only one without. He was another one without children, for example.
Yeah.
But what's his relationship with that kind of thing? They show the very cynical side, the PE teacher, or the sad side, a lot alone, and he's not even awful. Like he really clearly cares about the children he works PE teacher as a teacher with. But this music teacher could be the other side, where he's like, I'm fine with that. I have such joy from just these kids alone. Like could have been a nice scale balancing point. So in terms of the emotional drama, it's like I feel they missed a trick there.
Yeah.
We didn't need as much time with Mads or with the other character, his best friend as well, who I keep forgetting what the fuck that guy does. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I
Absolutely
think that would be the other criticism. Like the
Lars?
drama teacher in particular, like the music teacher, excuse me, the choir singer teacher in particular, doesn't get enough time.
No, I agree. Yeah, we were saying that after the film actually, weren't we? We were just like, just would be nice.
Whilst we went and had a nice drink and there's a beautiful car on Brick Lane.
Yeah, had a very, very nice drink afterwards. And sort of just talked about it, like, oh, isn't it terrible alcoholism? Like, get another drink.
But again, that was the joke, wasn't it? Because it's not about alcoholism.
No, it's not. It's about...
alcohol was just their particular
crutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had it was way more about losing a sense of yourself and your individuality when you get older and when you hit middle age, and more that alcoholism was sort of there to, like you said, be their crutch and prop them up, and they weren't actually dealing with their main issues. But yeah.
Bloody good film.
Bloody good film. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Mads out Mads. Daddy out Mads.
Baby. Baby. What a night. What a night. Alright, we'll leave that one.